And welcome back, folks. It is now time for the next case of criminal case in the conspiracy. This is case number 17. Downward facing dead. Oof. Hey Matthew, have you seen Rupert? I've been looking for him everywhere. I think he's run off with his VR headset again. We haven't seen it, but we'll tell you if we do. Thanks. I'm really starting to worry about him, you know. That Dream Life game is highly addictive, and Rupert is seriously into it. You have good reason to worry, Amir, especially after we found that person who forgot to eat or drink while they were playing it. On top of that, we know that Dream Life hired Marconi Security Company to guard their satellite. That VR company has to be up to something. I agree that Dream Life is probably up to something, but we'll have to put it on the back burner. I have your next assignment. A yoga teacher has been murdered at a yoga studio called the Shala. You need to get there stat. Roger that, Chief. Matthew, let's get to that yoga studio.
Monitoring the Department of Health's air quality indexes, so they're monitoring the sulfur dioxide in the air, and most of their reporting stations, including, as you see on the screen, near Volcano, Hilo, all the way through Mountain View, they're actually reporting good air quality, so that is good news. So far, the air quality, obviously, if you're near any of the fissures, that's a problem, but outside of that, so far, the air quality of the reporting stations has been good. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. We'll also keep an eye on just the shaking that's going on. Another day where we have 100 earthquakes in the past 24 hours. So 100 earthquakes, most of them small, 1, 2, maybe up to 3, but for the most part, they're small. So the latest one that we did have, I think it was a 3.1, there it is, near Volcano, just 9:40, so not too long ago, about an hour ago. Those indicate all the earthquakes that we had in the past hour. So still a lot of shaking and still a lot of shaking.
Oh dear.
As we take a little bit of a wider view, wallpaper shows a disturbance.
That's a pretty gruesome way to go out.
Towards Maui County earlier today. That rainfall beginning to fall apart. The radar's kind of overdoing here, so not really a lot of rain out there. But most of this actually not even making it to the ground, but a couple of light showers possible. Overall, this should be a nice night. A nice day tomorrow. A couple of windward showers, but a little more sunshine expected for Kauai. Along the same story, we'll see a cloud cover just like we saw today. We saw a little bit more sunshine. That'll continue that trend for tomorrow. So partly sunny in the morning, mostly sunny by the afternoon. Maui County, we'll call it partly cloudy. Northeast winds becoming a little bit lighter, so those trays becoming a little lighter.
I don't see it.
As the moisture still left over the big high surf advisories expire at 6 a.m. tomorrow.
There we are.
Small craft advisory. But still pretty decent. 6 to 9 footers for the North Shore.
I fell a little short.
South and 3 to 5 for East Shores tonight. 70 degrees, the expected low for tomorrow. We'll get to 82 degrees. We'll have trade winds. They'll still be there, but they'll be getting a little bit lighter.
Whoa, Matthew. That yoga teacher is in pretty bad shape. I didn't even know humans could make that shape at all. Looks like he was drowned in the water feature, but that water is pretty shallow. The autopsy will tell us everything we need to know. And someone called this murder in, but there's no one to greet us. Maybe this metal plaque could reveal more about the studio. Let's dust it. And that torn cloth could shed light on what happened here once you piece it together.
We'll show you where this mystery fluid was coming from. You're watching Island News at 10. Please come back.
Hawaiian Telcom, Hawaii's technology.
That's gonna do. And I need to get some stars anyway. I'll see you all then for now. And I will have a substantial number of stars. Don't go anywhere, folks. Okay, now I got Now I got a total of 10 stars. Considering I gotta find all this Considering I got a final tomorrow, hopefully I can. I'm pretty sure I got a fair amount.
When this next thing wants to go, I know what's going on with you. Why can't you take advantage of time? It's gonna happen. Very much, and I just make your choice. Watch her.
There we go, founded by Guruji. And that's, that metal plaque seems to be about this yoga school, the Shaila, and it says that some guy named Guruji founded it. Oh, you're right, Matthew. If that guy founded this yoga studio, he would know who the victim is. Let's go speak with this Guruji and ask him about the victim.
Because the process is taking you all the way. Here, you're fired.
You must be here about the murder. I am the one who called you before my meditation practice. You called us about a murdered yoga teacher, then went to meditate. I guess you were restoring your inner calm. What can you tell us about the victim? His name was Scott Morris, and he was my star teacher. But you see, I am not at all worried about his death. How can you say that? He was murdered right here in your yoga studio. Death is not the end. Scott believed, as I do, in reincarnation. He will return. I was a spiritual teacher. He is bound to me. We will meet again. If you say so. But in the meantime, we need to solve this murder. Did you notice any change in the victim's behavior recently? Well, now that you mention it, Scott was spending more and more time meditating in the garden these days. Then we should definitely have a look at the garden. Thank you for your help, Mr. Guruji. Zen garden.
She was engaged to the medical.
But before I do that, I'm going to do the torn cloth next.
For months she harvested me. I thought she was getting better, but she took better care. Now I find she's involved with Enrique Montero. He's an evil man.
Zate. That torn cloth you pieced together seems to be a banner. There's a blue person talking to a not blue guy who has a fancy mustache. You're right, that doesn't tell us much, but what's written on it will. It reads, every event is both cause and effect. Such is karma. And right underneath it says, I will be the instrument of karma. All of this makes no sense to me. Maybe Gabriel can figure this banner out. Watch tablet, duffel bag.
And if you have heart failure, entrusting your heart to Entresto may help. Entresto is a heart failure medicine that helps improve your ability to pump blood to the body. In the largest heart failure study ever, Entresto was proven superior in helping people stay alive out of the hospital compared to a leading heart failure medicine. Don't take Entresto with pregnant. It can cause harm or death.
There.
Ask your doctor about Entresto.
Camera ran out, but I got the first star.
Awesome. Entresto for
I
heart.
was having trouble finding the lucky cat.
When I received the diagnosis, I knew at that exact moment, whatever it takes, wherever I have to go, I needed it. My main focus was to find a team of doctors that work together.
When a patient comes to CCCA, they're meeting a team of physicians that specialize in the management of cancer.
Breast cancer treatment is continuing to evolve, and I would say that
You're right, Matthew. That yoga mat bag has the victim's name on it. You should definitely have a rummage through it. And that tablet could be important. We'll know more once you unlock it.
That CT solutions is the kind of care I've always wanted for my patients. Being able to spend time with them, have a whole team to look after them is fantastic. My power limit.
Okay, let's take care of everything right now. I'm going to try and get through some more stars on my own time after this.
Surround yourself with a team of breast cancer experts at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Visit cancercenters.com/breast.
Lyle Bass. You found a video game store loyalty card in the victim's yoga bag? That's not what I was expecting from such a spiritual guy, but what do I know? Nice catch. The name on the card isn't the victim's. This card belongs to Lyle Bass, and there's a phone number. You're right, Matthew. We should call that phone number and get this Lyle Bass guy to the station. He can tell us why his loyalty card was in the victim's yoga bag.
We eat our favorite food and still with I'm very impressed with his weight loss, his blood pressure, and cholesterol. Really good. I recommend Brightness because it's made from the rare
About the victim having his loyalty card? Mr. Bass, Mr. Bass, we found your video game store loyalty card in Scott Morris's possessions. Any idea why he would have it? Well, that sounds like classic Scott. He's my roommate, and he's worried that I don't spend enough time outside, so I guess he took my card to keep me from getting more video games. Don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, and he's always got rent, always on time. Well, I'm afraid Scott won't be making rent this month. He was murdered at the yoga studio. What? Someone murdered Scott? Dude, how am I going to pay rent this month?
Yeah, guaranteed. Or your money back. So get like these and lose 4 times more.
Now you can lose 4 times more weight. Just add Lipozene for only $29.95.
And now the locked tablet.
We'll double your order for free and ship it free too. And for a limited time, we'll double the size of each bottle for free. So now you have 4 times the Lipozene for just $29.95. Plus, you'll get Metabolite Plus to help boost your energy and metabolism. But you must call. Call 800-884-0775. 800-884-0775.
Good job! The tablet is unlocked. Did you find anything interesting, Matthew? There seems to be an article about the yoga studio on this tablet. Looks like there's a photo of the victim leaning on some really, really big guy. We need to find out who the stranger is. We should run this photo against the database back at the precinct.
Justice Lewis will complete a forensic examination. Coffee?
Well, thank you. This statement is saying that according to the rules,
I've heard that. Which makes me believe that perhaps the spy in this one went sour.
during the play. Neither party going alone, leaving his bodyguard behind.
Just got the 9 in time. Max Gaines. According to the database, the mystery man from the photo with the victim is a certain Max Gaines. Well, here's hoping that Mr. Gaines can tell us more about the victim. They seem to have been close.
That would seem to me
You are very observant, senor. I congratulate you.
But isn't it strange that the murderer left the mask behind?
Mr. Gaines, we called you in to ask you about Scott Morris. Scott? Where is he? Is he in trouble? He may have been. We found Scott murdered at the yoga studio where he taught. Scott was murdered? How can this be? Who would have wanted to murder such a kind and generous person? It appears that you two were close. Did you also teach at the studio? No, I studied there. Scott was my life coach. He changed my entire worldview. After I was kicked out of anger management therapy, Scott taught me how to harness my inner fire for a better purpose. But now what will I do? Without Scott, I might end up right back where I started. And I'll see you guys when these two are done. I'll try to see if I get all stars collected by then. Alright folks, we have returned, and let's get the results of the autopsy from our team. Hello Matthew, I was thinking of taking yoga classes again, but after seeing your victim's fate, I've changed my mind. As you surmised, the victim was indeed drowned in the stream that runs through the studio. It appears that the victim was surprised by an attacker while in this complicated yoga pose. Although he tried, he didn't manage to extricate himself from the posture in time. So he was defenseless against his killer. Yes, and at some point during the struggle, the killer grabbed the victim by the hair and tore out some of his dreadlocks. You see, the bruises on the victim's neck indicate that the killer used the right hand to hold the victim's head under the water. Given that the dominant hand is always used for an action requiring maximum strength, it is safe to say that the killer is right-handed. So the killer used their right hand to kill the victim, huh? Well, pretty soon they'll use it to take an oath before the judge. And now the banner message. Matthew, how familiar are you with the concept of karma? Isn't that when what you do comes back to you? Well, it's a little more complex, but essentially that's true. What goes around comes around. And whoever wrote this message believed they were meting out justice, and given you said it was right by the victim, it was likely written by the killer. The killer felt that murder was the punishment the victim deserved. But the exact message reads, "Every event is both cause and effect. Such is karma." Is that some kind of quote? It definitely is. The killer quoted the Bhagavad Gita, an ancient Indian text that lays out the entire concept of yoga. There is no doubt that the killer is familiar with the Bhagavad Gita, although they perverted it for their own goals. So the killer is familiar with this ancient Indian text. Well then, Matthew, you'll need to serve them a cup of instant karma. Well, Matthew, looks like murder can strike anywhere, even in a serene place like a yoga studio. We have a yoga teacher drowned in the very room where he taught. Even though the studio owner alerted us to the murder, he seemed unconcerned by his star teacher's death. He kept talking about reincarnation instead. Meanwhile, Max Gaines was singing the victim's praises. He said Scott Morris turned his life around. His roommate also said great things about the victim. So who could have killed the supposed paragon of virtue? Matthew, I have great news. I heard about your latest murder investigation, so I decided to do a little sleuthing of my own near the yoga studio. I got a hold of some security footage from the kombucha shop on the corner, and Matthew, I believe I found video footage of the killer. Ooh. Nice job, Ramirez. We'll see if he did in Chapter 2. Don't go anywhere. And we're back. Let's start Chapter 2 of Downward Facing Dead. Matthew, I believe I found footage of the killer. You saw the killer? Well, sort of. Excuse me. The video showed someone running away from the yoga studio right after the murder. Their face was covered by a light purple cloth, and they disappeared into the boot camp course across the street. The runner had a cloth hiding their face? That has to be the killer leaving the scene of the crime. Quick, Matthew. Let's go check out that boot camp course. There it is. Oh, and also some torn paper. Guarantee that's a clue. Torn paper. Got it. You found the light purple towel Ramirez mentioned. This has to be the cloth the killer wore to hide from the security camera. But what are those dried bits and pieces all over it? If you collect a sample, Matthew, we'll definitely get a lead on the murderer. And you're right. This torn paper might tell us something more, and a dig through that crate is bound to help us find a lead. Go for it, Matthew. Deal with the crate first. Oh, a tank top. That tank top you found in that crate says Captain Clem and the boss. Wait a second, Captain Clem? I read all about her in the newspaper the other day. She's 70 years old and just won a fitness competition. I had no idea that she had started a boot camp course, but it makes perfect sense. Good point, Matthew. Maybe Captain Clem saw something. Let's track her down. Captain Clementine. Your full name. Hey, more props to her for 70 years of age. Hey there, how can I help you two get in the best shape of your lives? Sorry to say it, but neither of us is here for that. We're with the Grimsboro PD, and we're trying to find the person who murdered a yoga instructor today. Oh, Scott Morris. Yes, I heard. This is such terrible news. So young. Wow, news travels fast in the Greens. So you knew him? I had mad respect for Scotty. A little while back he taught me some yoga poses to help my back after an injury. Wouldn't even take my money. We believe the killer ran to your boot camp course after the crime. Have you seen anything out of the ordinary? Can't say that I have. Just business as usual around here. But I will definitely be in touch if I can think of anything that might help you. Scotty was part of the fitness community here in the Greens. He deserves justice. Agreed. Here we go. That paper is an exercise training sheet, and it's for Rosetta Pierre. She's the founder of Dream Life, the company that makes the virtual reality game Rupert is getting so addicted to. If Rosetta Pierre's exercise sheet is here, she could still be here at the boot camp. Funny that we should run into Miss Pierre so close to another murder. We better find her and have a word. Let's see what she has to say. Miss Pierre, fancy meeting you here while we're investigating another murder. This time it's a local yoga teacher, Scott Morris. A local yoga teacher? I wouldn't know anything about that. I mean, I read the Bhagavad Gita when I was like 9, but I'm not a yoga person. I do boot camp. And while you've been working out this morning, you didn't see a stranger run by? I work out here, and I am not the neighborhood watch, okay? I didn't see anyone, and I don't know anything about a murder. But I do know that my heart rate's out of fat burn mode. Gotta go. Fat burn mode. Please. Sorry, Matthew, but that woman gets on my last nerve. And I think she was a little too quick with her answers. We'll have to keep an eye on her. Unfortunately, she doesn't look to be in the running. Thankfully, that's 5. Looks like you collected a sample of those dried bits and pieces from the killer's cloth. We need to get it to forensics right away. "12 hours. I'll have all stars collected by then. For now, this is Matthew. See you then." And we have returned. Let's get the results of the dried bits from Amir. Or Amir, rather. "Matthew, I heard from Rupert. He said he wasn't coming in because he had an emergency. But I just know he's off playing that VR game." "That's troubling, Amir. But we need to know about the sample Matthew collected from the killer's cloth." "Well, after careful analysis, I can say that the sample you brought me was composed of green cardamom, fresh ginger, bits of cinnamon stick, fennel, and black peppercorns. Sounds delicious, but I have no idea what that could be." "Those ingredients are the basic recipe for chai, a blend of spices that are used to make a warming tea. And the killer had to have consumed some chai shortly before the murder. They must have left the herbs on the cloth when they prepared the tea. So the killer drinks chai tea. Well, they'll need something else to keep them warm in prison. But we need to dig deeper if we're going to catch this killer." "Good point, Matthew. Speaking of herbs, let's head back to the yoga garden."
He was found in Stockton, later returned to Hawaii with cash and quality fake IDs.
Wildlife fishing is no longer allowed in shallow waters around Hawaii. National Marine Fisheries Service closes the fishery for the rest of the year under a federal court order protecting endangered loggerhead sea turtles. Rulings in response to a lawsuit by 2 environmental groups challenging catch limits. National Marine Fisheries Service is disappointed by the ruling, believing all available information is experiencing strong recovery, and the shallow set fishery continues to have a negligible impact on loggerhead abundance.
The graduation season is fast approaching, and many are pondering which lake to get special draft. But tonight, conservationists warning the public about an apparent shortage in Marlin. Researchers recently discovered 70% of Marlin is dependent on Hawaii's forest. The leafy
Lock the notebook and the snake.
activity and a fast-moving fatal fungus.
And I got the first star.
Rapid rate. Ethnobotanist Katie Kamelamela says increasing demand for millet is not only adding to its depletion.
Matthew, this looks like an award for Scott Morris. But someone seems to have smashed it. Looks like someone didn't agree that he was the best yoga teacher in Grimsboro. The substance on the award might tell us who had issues with the star yoga instructor. Think you can grab a sample? And that notebook certainly has a lot of personality, but it's locked. If you can get it open, Matthew, I'm sure we'll find something that can help us.
Highly treasured lei, especially in the art of hula. Coming up tonight at 6, how a native Hawaiian plant nursery is helping Wale thrive on Oahu.
Hawaii Ironworkers Union donated more than $41,000 worth of supplies for recovery from Kauai today. Also cleaning up groundwater and personal hygiene.
21122. Here we are. 32521. Got it.
President Donald Trump signing an emergency relief fund for
Well, you got the notebook open, but I can't make sense with these squiggles. I just see Scott's name. Good call, Matthew. Gabriel will be able to figure out what language is in this notebook and probably even what it says.
Coming up with Island News at 6 tonight, not only did the Ironworkers Union make a big donation, they also issued a challenge.
Well, Hawaii Superintendent receiving high marks in her first evaluation by the Board of Education today. In her first evaluation since last August, Christina Kishimoto was given the rating highly effective. The board's chairman says Kishimoto has done a significant amount of foundational work in a short time. The evaluation is done before the end of the school year. We're now time to set priorities.
Here we are. You've got a sample of the substance from the victim's broken award. Excellent. I bet you can figure out what it is just by sticking the sample under the microscope, Matthew. That will help us find the person who broke the award.
Earlier from the stalled vehicles on the H1 that slowed things down a little earlier. We're still seeing some of the residual slowdown. It could take you about almost 90 minutes to get from town all the way into town. Not really too bad. Mountain Kilo Drive and heads up tonight. Unfortunately, closed at Mountain Kilo Drive all the way through the Industrial Park in Congress Point, all friends. Again, that's tonight at 8 p.m. At Mountain Kilo Drive as each one westbound.
Oh, tattoo cream. According to the microscope, the substance on the broken award was tattoo aftercare cream. That's true, Matthew. We do have one suspect with a lot of tattoos, Max Gaines. So Max Gaines smashed an award given to the man who supposedly turned his life around. We need to find out why. Mr. Gaines, we know that you smashed an award given to Scott Morris. Why? Oh no, I'm really ashamed about this. I lost my temper. Scott told me that he had to stop teaching me, even though I did everything he told me to. I read the Bhagavad Gita, I drank chai all day, but he said I wasn't bringing the right energy to the mat and that the other students were afraid of me. I didn't tell you before because I knew how it would look. I mean, come on. I failed anger management therapy. And maybe breaking Scott's award wasn't enough to calm your temper after he kicked you out of his class. Stick around, Mr. Gaines. We may need to speak with you again. Well, that's 2 marks against him. We'll have to open notebook learner's course. I'll see you when that's done. Alright folks, we have returned. Let's get the results of the open notebook right now. Matthew, did you know that many words of today's modern languages are derived from Sanskrit? I sure didn't. They are telling us that those squiggles in the notebook were Sanskrit? Indeed I am. Sanskrit is an ancient Indian language that was primarily used for religious texts. But the colorful idioms in this notebook have me poring over dictionaries. From what I can tell, the notes were written by Scott's guru. He likened Scott to a mongoose on hot ground, which means that Scott was behaving wildly. He went on to say that Scott was like sesame seeds in the forest. I believe the victim was failing to live up to the guru's expectations. Mr. Guruji only had the highest praise for the victim before. We need to get the whole story from him.
Giving her every week. Mail it home. Get one to cook for and receive a $100.
Well, let's talk to Guruji now.
Stylish chair, stunning rings,
Mr. Guruji, we found your notes on Scott Morris. You did not seem happy with him at all, though you spoke highly of him before. It is a teacher's duty to be strict when a student requires it. I fear Scott was straying from the path. Although I spent time teaching him the Bhagavad Gita over cups of my specially brewed chai, he was getting his own ideas. The last time I had such a free-thinking student, he decided to run off and start some cult about a flashlight or something. I did not want Scott to be brought so low, to be tempted into a life of fame, wealth, and women. Thankfully, he passed before his karma was too silly. His soul will enter a newer, better form. Well, I hope for your sake that you didn't help his soul move on, Mr. Guruji.
It's an innocent girl whose childhood you stole. I didn't feel to put this fear away before you.
She told her mom that she was ready for big clothes, so they drove out to the mall in her legs.
Well, Matthew, we may be a little closer to finding the person who drowned Scott Morris, but we're not close enough. Rosetta Pierre claims not to know anything about yoga, but she sure was quick to get out of that interrogation. And have you noticed how both Mr. Guruji and Mr. Gaines favor their right hands? We've got to get that down in the investigation notes. Me personally, I don't think Captain Clem would hurt anybody, even though she certainly seems strong and... Whoa, Matthew, who's making all that racket? I think it's coming from inside the yoga studio.
You stand here, you watch them as one way to see where we are.
Where we are is past the 5-year statute of limitations. We can't touch him.
I know that. He's technically not under arrest.
Why is he in there?
Special interest in the stream of the cases.
Which ones?
See you guys for Chapter 3. And it's now time to start Chapter 3 of Downward Facing Dead. I think it's coming from the yoga studio. Let's go. Listen up, Swami, whatever your name is. You better hustle. Send someone to come to my place and get Scott's stuff. Young sir, you must never underestimate the virtues of patience. Don't you quote the Bhagavad Gita at me, buddy. I had enough of that living with Scott. Whoa there, Mr. Bass. Step away from Mr. Guruji right now. Fine, but he better get one of his little followers over to my place stat. I can't rent out Scott's room with a bunch of his stupid yoga crud in there. Mr. Bass, cool your jets. And given the tone you've taken about Scott, Senior Chipper Matthew has some questions for you.
I'm Sarah, and you are...
Now, Mr. Bass, we hope you've calmed down enough to be questioned. What was that about getting the victim's yoga crud out of your apartment? Well, he's gone, but his junk is everywhere. I can't rent it out like that. You seem ready to move on pretty quickly, Mr. Bass. When we first spoke, you called Scott a great guy, but now you seem to have been very angry with him. Look, by now I'll be honest. Scott was the worst roommate ever. He was all holier than thou about everything. He even replaced all my favorite coffee with a bunch of homemade chai, and tricked me into drinking it. Then he almost broke my right hand moving a giant statue of some monkey guy. I couldn't hold a video game controller for a week. A week! You clearly have a lot of anger toward the victim, Mr. Bass. But there's no reason to harass total strangers. If you come back to this yoga studio, we will book you for disturbing the peace. You're right, Matthew. We better have another look around the yoga studio before there are any more interruptions. Well, he's also in the running now. All right. Let's see what the clues are. In fact, I see one. I do. Paper. Watch. There we go.
15 years, I think I would have picked up on something like that. But you haven't been serious. Do not just frightening given your daughter's ages. That is sick. He has never been
Those papers say Operation Slay Scott on them. That does not sound good, but the cheesy clip art makes it even stranger. You're right, Matthew. You better just see what this is all about. And what about that smartwatch? Please unlock it as fast as you can, Matthew. It could be important. We need some leads in this investigation, and need them badly. Let's do this.
He's been covering up for tell me now.
Get out!
I'm gonna get some stars. Just sit tight, everyone.
Okay, the first day of the class.
Okay, I got myself 4 of the 5 stars, so let's examine this now.
So, how are we going to find Honeyburst?
Well, one thing we know for sure, Newlands had access to his blood. It's what he was famous. He was experiencing a newfound sense of freedom now that everyone thinks he's dead. And he granted everything. False. He didn't use it in his usual way. He never used to make a connection.
These are the people who are going to have to know this girl.
You guys should really do this.
There we go. Holy moly! Those Operation Slay Scott notes were written by Captain Clementine. And look underneath her name. It reads, "Equanimity is bad TV," among other things. What on earth does that mean? We better go talk with Captain Clementine about her plan to slay the victim.
It was our daughter's birthday. Gift. I know that. What about you?
Captain Clementine, Senior Trooper Matthew and I are curious about your plans to slay Scott. We found your notes. Oh no, I was wondering where I'd left those. Look, this isn't what it might seem to be. Scott and I were fighting for the last fitness instructor slot on a reality TV show about extreme weight loss. And you were willing to kill the competition? No, absolutely not. But I just had to win. If I did, I'd be a household name, merchandising, book deals, a biopic. I invited Scott for some chai to ask him to back down, but he stood me up, so I went to the studio to corner him. But he refused to drop his candidacy for the TV show. I was so angry I stormed off and must have left my notes there. But I didn't want to hurt Scott. I just wanted to win. Seems like Scott was in your way, Captain Clementine. I sure hope you're telling the truth and didn't do anything horrible to boost your odds. Well, for starters, she isn't in the running, so she is in the clear.
Which one? Bugs, poppers. This little 50-pound test. Who's got a boat? Honeydew. Peter Lester on his boat with Honeydew on a 40-ounce spread.
518,
Looks like he's got a slip there.
60K, OSW. Got it. Just got the 9 in time. And look whose watch it is. You unlocked the smartwatch, and it belonged to Rosetta Pierre? But she said she didn't know anything about yoga, so what is her watch doing here in the studio? Good call, Matthew. Kathy might be able to dig deeper into this watch and find more information. Let's get it to her. This will be 9 hours. Yes, it is. I'll see you guys when this is done, but I might speed it up. We'll see what happens. So for now, it's Matthew. See you then. And we return. I'm going to speed this up right now.
Something so harmless.
So let's see what Kathy has to say. Hey there, Matthew. Have I got some news for you? Rosetta's smartwatch has some serious secrets. It took some delicate work, but I managed to crack an encrypted file and I hit the mother lode. So what is Rosetta hiding from us? Is it about her business? Oh no, it's way more personal. Up until about a year ago, Rosetta and Scott Morris were very involved, romantically speaking. There were cutesy couple photos of them traveling together, and some poetry he's written for her. No way! She lied right to our faces, saying she didn't know about any yoga instructors. That's it, Matthew. Time to confront Rosetta Pierre about her romantic involvement with the victim. What does she have to say now? Miss Pierre, you lied to us. You told us that you knew nothing about yoga or yoga instructors, but your smartwatch says otherwise. You and Scott Morris were together. Yeah, I didn't tell you before because I didn't want you making a big deal out of it. We were even engaged to be married, and then we weren't. You were engaged? The breakup must have been pretty serious then. Scott decided to become an ascetic, which means no romantic involvement of any kind. There was no future for us, so we mutually decided to end our relationship. And yet you kept photos of you and Scott as a couple hidden on your smartwatch. You didn't want to move on, did you? Of course I did. I don't have time for an emotionally unavailable jerk. I must have lost my smartwatch at the yoga studio when I dropped off all the presents he ever gave me. But whatever, I have a company to run and I'm too young to settle down. There's no time for love, Senior Trooper Matthew.
It would be a good idea if you brought Amy.
Oh boy, Matthew, have the tables turned or what? At first we had no clue who might have drowned Scott Morris, and now we have a host of suspects. It turns out that Rosetta Pierre was Scott's rejected fiancée. She's trying to play it cool, but she clearly hasn't gotten over him breaking their engagement. And Captain Clementine was ready to slay the victim to win a spot on a reality TV show. Let's not even discuss Scott's coffee insanity-deprived roommate, Lyle Bass. Living with the victim seemed to be torture for him. We have to find which one of these people attacked and killed Scott Morris and get them behind bars, Matthew. Good point. We know the killer ran to the boot camp course after the murder. We should take another look there.
That's a pretty funny question coming from you. It is the ladies' locker room. You know, I always think yesterday. Grab those speaking accounts and put the money in those two bank accounts in Portland. I don't know about that, Philly, but I never told anyone. I was trying to afford dead wine and
Okay, let's see. What clues are we on the lookout for?
Still, you don't know what's the difference.
Well, there's one, the trash can. And there's another, the book. That's the Bhagavad Gita book.
Take this one.
just make me think about it for a while. Please, boy.
7 seconds. Oh, and I still got the first star no matter what.
Thought one was dead. Pretty believing she's alive. Thought Kaz looking some high-priced surgeon over at Tommy General.
Wow, Matthew, you found a copy of the Bhagavad Gita. Definitely not something you'd expect to find at a boot camp. Let's see what we'll find inside the book. Good eye, Matthew. There, underlined, is the quote the killer used in their threat to the victim. So the book is definitely the killer's. I wonder what that powder on it is though. We definitely need a sample of it, Matthew. And why didn't I think to look through the trash? Dig in.
Wanda is colorblind and unable to distinguish green from red. Except for color, Floyd's car is identical to Charlie's Luna. So she put the tape in Charlie's car by mistake. When no one showed up at Sally's landing on Monday night, Wanda decided to tell Floyd directly. Only that was the one that he was important. So she had to wait until yesterday to call him. And he was at the store and
There we are. Brown powder. You have a sample of that powder from the killer's book. Amir will need to have a look at it right away.
He bought Charlie's gun in a Santa Claus outfit and waited for Wanda right here in the Floyd's yard.
Okay, this is 9 hours. We'll get the results in tomorrow.
She came in. I shot Liz. I was so scared I didn't need to see she was dating me. I locked the lock and left. I was always there for you.
Aha! Victim's dreadlocks. You found some dreadlocks in the trash? That's weird. Wait, that's right, Matthew. Martine told us that the killer ripped some dreadlocks out of the victim's head. This is a big clue. We need to get these dreadlocks to Amir right away.
I don't think it'll be a secret much longer.
15 hours? Yes, it will. And I'll see you guys when both of these are finished. See all that? Okay, folks, we have returned. Let's get the results of the brown powder right now. Hey, Matthew. Still no sign of Rupert anywhere. I could really use a break. No break until this investigation is done, Amir. You know that. Yes, I do. That's why I haven't taken one. The upshot is, I have the results from the powder you collected from the killer's book. The powder was from a Rudraksha seed. These are often used as prayer beads by Hindus. Usually 108 beads are strung to make malas or prayer bead necklaces. Or Rudraksha. There we go. If the beads aren't properly oiled, they tend to leave a fine powder on the things they touch. So it stands to reason that, as the killer was consulting the quote, their prayer beads left powder in the book. Aha! So we have a killer who wears Hindu prayer beads. Well, they don't stand a prayer against Senior Trooper Matthew. No, they don't.
Republicans, State House Rep Andrea Tupola and former state lawmaker John Carroll.
They're turning tassels on Hawaii Island this weekend. University of Hawaii at Hilo awarded over 860 degrees for certificates at the 2018 spring commencement. Both degrees are in the colleges of arts and sciences.
Matthew, I have great news about those dreadlocks you found. You were on the money about them having been the victims. And I isolated foreign skin cells on the hair. Foreign skin cells? They must have come from the killer. Yep, it's safe to say that the killer left them behind when they ripped the dreadlocks out of the victim's scalp. But one thing is certain, we won't be finding any of the killer's hair anywhere. The skin cells show that the killer has alopecia, an autoimmune disorder that causes baldness. So the killer is bald. That narrows the list of suspects considerably. Matthew, we have all the evidence we need to arrest the person who drowned Scott Morris. Let's do this.
So we are expecting an uptick in shower activity.
Currently enjoying a little food at the moment.
bright spots here on the Walker. Other smaller outlets. As we take a look at our Sunday forecast, we'll start things off.
And it's not Guruji.
Most of the indoor areas can get a little bit more activity at the southern end of the island.
It isn't Wild Bass.
And our rainfall forecast. We're not adding up to too much. Windward areas, both of that mixture.
No, definitely not Captain Clementine. What do you know? Yep. It was Max Gaines, the yoga student. Max Gaines, you're under arrest for the murder of Scott Morris. Oh, come on. I know that I have a temper. I won't run from the fact that I broke his award, but murder? But you did run away from the crime scene. We found the cloth you used to cover your face and the chai tea you left on it. But Scott changed my life. I would never hurt him. And you say that showing us the same hand that held his head under the water. Maybe the old me would have resorted to such violence, but I'm a changed man. Not according to the evidence. With your left hand, you ripped out one of Scott's dreadlocks. We found your DNA on it. You killed him. Fine, I killed him. That Yogi actor's a cover. Scott Morris is a liar and a thief, and a general bastard. A liar and a thief? What are you talking about? Scott and I went to the same university back when I was a skinny little nerd. He protected me. Then 10 years ago, he came to me with a business proposal. I invested in it. I trusted Scott with all my money, then he ran off. I spent years getting ripped so I could destroy him when I finally found him again. He made a huge mistake when he came back to Grimsboro. But you could have attacked him anywhere. Instead, you decided to take yoga classes with him. Why? I wanted to see Scott's face when he finally recognized the old me under all the muscle. When he finally realized he couldn't run away from his past. And he did recognize you, didn't he? That's why he tried to prevent you from studying at the Shala. He thought that would be the end of it. But I'm stronger than I used to be. He couldn't escape me this time, or his karma. Well, you need to start worrying about your own karma. Max Gaines, you're under arrest. Mr. Max Gaines, you are before this court on the charge of murdering Scott Morris. You attacked and drowned him in a yoga studio. He had it coming to him. Scott stole all my money. And there were legal solutions to this problem, Mr. Gaines. You had 10 years to calm down and get past this, but you chose to plan revenge instead. Since the murder you committed was so thoroughly premeditated, this court hereby sentences you to 25 years in prison. I don't care. It was worth it. Man, Matthew, can you believe that Max Gaines spent 10 years planning to get revenge on Scott Morris? That's 10 years he could have spent addressing the problem by legal means, then learning to let go of the past and build a future. Speaking of 10 years, I feel like it's been a decade since anyone has seen Rupert. This is starting to go from annoying to worrying, Matthew. I'm starting to think there's something really wrong with this game. And I'll see you guys when this is just Fantasy 5-6. But first of all, look at the other ones. Captain Clementine cleared from the start. Rosetta Pierre also cleared from the start. Guruji, not bald. Wild Bass, no prayer beads. I'll see you guys. It was Max Gaines. And I will see you guys for Is This Just Fantasy 5-6. Alright folks, we've returned. Let's start Is This Just Fantasy 5-6. Hey Matthew, I heard you just solved the case of that drowned yoga teacher. Actually, speaking of yoga, I have a favor to ask you. Thing is, I wanted to see if yoga might be able to help Zoe, at least with the stress of dealing with the amnesia. Do you have time to introduce me to that Guruji guy? Matthew, if you have a moment, we really need to talk about Rupert. It feels like ages since any of us have seen him. Frankly, I think it's that VR game. He's gone off the deep end. Sounds like a pressing problem, Matthew. I understand if you need to talk to Gloria and Amir first, We can go see Mr. Guruji when you can.
Pros have always relied on PPG paint. Now you can too. A PPG Timeless starting $33.98. The Home Depot. More safe, more durable.
Now let's talk to Amir first, since this is a more probing issue. Hey Matthew, I am really worried about Rupert. I know the emergency he called in about earlier was nothing vaguely urgent. He was definitely playing that VR game. And now Rupert's not answering his phone at all. That's not good. We have seen what can happen when someone gets too hooked on this game. We don't want Rupert to become another victim. Exactly. That's why I asked Kathy to locate Rupert through his work phone, and I found him. Our wayward lab chief's at the garden outside the yoga studio. In the yoga garden? What on earth is he doing there? Don't worry, Amir. Matthew and I will go to the garden and find the answers.
Atopic dermatitis, which can be caused by inflammation under your skin. Maybe you should ask your doctor. Experts.com has learned more.
There's nothing like the people who can demonstrate. It's always just a phone call away from letting you know that help is on the way.
Let's give it a try.
The one side of this at Amica, we're proud to be the kind of company that you trust. Auto, home, and life insurance.
Oh.
How's the fam? Sleeping. Bring that sleeping.
Welcome to Amica. This is help.
There we are. Dragon crystals hunters.
Now we have furniture and friends.
Opera is free to use. Find anything you want nearby.
You found a VR headset, Matthew, and RW must stand for Rupert Winchester. So you found the headset, but no Rupert. Where could he be? You're right. We need to seize this opportunity to get into that headset and see why Rupert's so hooked on it. Try to unlock it, Matthew, please.
Victim of a crime. Either way, we have to kind of so what we have allowed to make it a lot easier. Is that your solution? If it keeps you safe, yes. I left the job because I got sick of locking them up. I'd rather treat the criminals like her. Do you think Myra's being helped right now on the street?
I think we all know the answer to that as well.
3-5.
Any relatives?
She mentioned his sister. I'll check her medical records, see if I can.
Here we go.
Check public records too.
Okay. 5, 8, 3, 8, 3. Here we go. One more.
I already have a job.
So what are you doing here?
3, 5, 3, 1. There we are. Got another 8 coming my way. Matthew, I feel somewhat bad invading Rupert's privacy this way. But given what we've seen of this game, we're all getting worried for him. We need to see what's got him so addicted. Matthew, let's get Rupert's headset to Kathy and see what she discovers. And I'll let Amir know that we haven't yet found Rupert and that he should keep looking. Hello, Mr. Guruji. My name is Jones, and I have a question to ask you about yoga. Please, Mr. Jones, I will do my utmost to find an answer for you. Well, you see, a friend of mine went missing half a year ago. When I found her, she couldn't remember any of her life before. Although her memory is starting to come back a little bit, the process is so stressful for her that I was wondering if taking a yoga class could help her. Amnesia. Yes. Well, she could try Yoga Nidra. It is a very calming practice, but it also stimulates the mind. I used to have a very good book about it. I misplaced it, but clinging to material things is precisely what I try to avoid. Well, Matthew's great at sorting out chaos. We'll find that book, if it's okay to have a look around the studio. You are clearly motivated. Here, have some comfortable clothes for your yoga nidra practice. I don't think I'll be wearing that. All of a sudden, I kind of feel like that's a Kate Hudson look for that Fabletics commercial, which I think they really need to go. But that's just me. Where is...
It is now. It's not safe, okay, man. Kitchen is wired.
This is spiderweb. Here we go, wooden chest. Pet carrier and socks. Not the best one. And definitely no help there.
You like it.
So you think that wooden chest could hold the book Mr. Guruji was talking about? Please, have a look through all that stuff.
Here's the inside. He has a disguise over his eyes. Someone he left pointing here to the spinal.
There it is, Yoga Nidra. You found a book in that chest, and the title concerns that Yoga Nidra thing Mr. Guruji mentioned. If you don't mind, I think I could use Gabriel's professional opinion on this Yoga Nidra stuff. He knows Zoe's case the best. After all.
Anybody got a rap sheet?
3 violent priors. No sex offenses.
9 hours, and I'll see you guys when both of these are done. See y'all then. Alright folks, we have returned. I'm going to get the results of Rupert's headset first. Matthew, I think I managed to figure out why Rupert never wants to take this headset off. So what is it? Some super challenging level in the VR game? Nope. Most of his stuff is still fairly tame. He's meeting the Queen of England and getting the Order of the British Empire. Visiting the Zen Garden was another challenge in-game. After no leads with the actual game, I decided to crack the code, and I found something very troubling. Apparently, if someone plays for 4 hours straight, they unlock a special game mode that freezes the light at a particular level. So it always seems like dusk. And that's bad? Well, there are rumors that some casinos in Las Vegas use lighting tricks to make gamblers unaware of how much time has passed and keep them playing for hours and hours. Dream Life has done the same thing with lighting, but in a virtual reality game. They're playing a mind trick so that people keep playing. So that's why even people like Rupert are getting so addicted and spending hours and hours in the game. I wonder if Rosetta Pierre knows about this trick. Let's call her in and confront her, Matthew. Miss Pierre, our experts analyzed the code of your Dream Life game and found something that's not on the up and up. What do you mean? We spent months testing it. Everything is fine with that game. So you intentionally created code that freezes the in-game light setting to dusk if a person plays for 4 hours straight? What? I do not know what on earth you are talking about. The night and day cycles meet the standards of any open world game. That's not what your code says, Miss Pierre. And as a result, the game messes with the player's perception of time. We've already seen people endangered by this code trick of yours, so the question is, was this intentional on your part? What? Of course not! I had no idea! I'll definitely look into this light problem, Senior Trooper Matthew, and make sure it's fixed. But before I go, here's a reward for finding that bug in the code. Well, thank you very much. 20 grand. Hey Gabriel, so what is this Yoga Nidra stuff, and do you think it could help Zoe? Well, the term Yoga Nidra means yogic sleep, and it is essentially a guided relaxation that puts the practitioner into a hypnagogic state. Hypno-state? You mean it would hypnotize Zoe if she tried it? It's not like a stage hypnotist making people act like chickens, but rather a form of self-hypnosis. In fact, Yoga Nidra has been recommended for people in Zoe's situations, since it can bring seemingly forgotten memories back. In my opinion, Zoe should go for it. Taking this step will give her agency. She'll feel like she's done something about her situation. Wow, really? Then we should definitely talk to Zoe about this, Matthew, and see if she's interested in trying this yoga thingy. Well, she looks a lot better. Let's see. Hey Zoe, how are you feeling today? Well, Detective Jones, no more memories have come back, but other than that, I'm okay. What if I told you that I found a yoga technique that might help you get your memory back? A yoga technique? Isn't that just stretching? It's a lot of different things, apparently, but this technique is called Yoga Nidra. It's a deep relaxation technique. I don't know. I'm a little nervous. What if I did it with you? I've never tried it either. That's reassuring. But where would we do it? Is there a class? A teacher? Good questions. I'll need to go ask Mr. Guruji, but first I need a snack. All this running around has my stomach growling. I actually have a little food myself. Mr. Guruji, my friend is interested in Yoga Nidra, but she's a little scared. Do we have to come to a class? Not right away. One does not even need a special instructor for the technique, especially if they use the CD I made. Great! Where is this famous CD? Where is anything in this world? Alright, mind if we look around the studio for the CD then? And I think also what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to the cat. Ooh, there's a CD, but I can see that it's cracked, or broken rather. Call me crazy, but I'm a little surprised that air pump wasn't a clue. A little bit. It's hard to explain, though. And of course, there isn't much I can do to move into first place. Do you think that broken CD could be the one Mr. Guruji was talking about? While you put that CD back together, I'll get the break room ready for a yoga nidra session and call Zoe. I hope this will get her memory back. And for Joan's sake, too. Here we go. Hey Matthew, I knew you'd get that CD in working order. So what do you say, Zoe? Do you want to try this yoga thingy? I guess the worst that could happen is that I fall asleep. Thanks for helping us out, Matthew. We'll see you later. So Zoe, did the yoga nidra help any memories resurface? Yes! I remember the day that I met your dog Astrid. I can't believe it. An actual memory from my life. I'm so happy. This is great news. If you can remember meeting my dog after one session, maybe one day you'll remember... Where is it? Uh-oh. Rupert, are you okay? No, Jones, I am, as a matter of fact, livid. I was supposed to have tea with Juniper, but I can't find my headset. I put it down for a moment and now it's gone. I must find it. Please calm down, Rupert. Your headset is here. We found it in the Zen garden. Thank you ever so much. I'm so relieved. Actually, we need to talk to you about that game. There's a bug in the code that tricks players into staying in game much longer than they should. A bug? But it's the most perfect game ever. Rupert, settle down. Look at yourself. Look at what this game is doing to you. I don't have a problem with Dream Life. I can quit whenever I want. It's you lot who've all gone mad. Matthew, what on earth? I have never seen Rupert like that. Neither have I, and I don't like it one bit. He's exhibiting classic signs of addiction. Which is why we must understand exactly what Dream Life is up to. Rosetta may claim that she had no notion of this bug, but I'm not convinced. I've learned that Dream Life will have a booth at the tech fair happening tomorrow. You better go to that tech fair and see what they present. So obviously I'm not going to be leveling up for quite a long time, actually. Will I do any more cases in Elite mode? I'm not quite sure yet. I am out of school for the summer, so there's a good chance I will, but I don't know when yet. Of course, this case opened on a Wednesday, and I still got this through on Sunday because I was a little bit busy with finals this week. But that's all over with. Next case is open on May 17th, and that's on a Thursday. Okay, so I'll go ahead and give myself the burger. Fresh 5. Three new ones. Three new ones. And 3 new ones also. Well, now we know that Zoe is back to normal. That's good news. That'll do. So that's going to do. I will see you guys on May 17th for the next case in the conspiracy. So I'll catch y'all later.